There is a truth that very few people dare to say out loud, and if you are an intelligent person, you might not like hearing this. You are not poor because you lack intelligence. You are not stuck because you lack knowledge. And you certainly do not fail because you don't understand enough. The truth is, the way you think is keeping you exactly where you are. You read books, you watch videos, you learn more skills, you understand more than most people around you. But if you stop for a second and look straight at your life, there is an uncomfortable question you cannot avoid. If you really understand that much, why hasn't your life changed yet? This is the most dangerous trap that intelligent people fall into. A trap that is not loud, not obvious, but extremely subtle. It makes you feel like you are moving forward, while in reality you are standing still. It makes you believe you are preparing, while in fact you are procrastinating. And the scariest thing is, you can live in that state for 3 years, 5 years, even 10 years, without realizing what you are losing. Because you are not lazy, you are not undisciplined, you are simply using your own intelligence to avoid taking action. And if you don't realize this soon enough, the gap between what you know and what you have will keep getting bigger. In this video, you will understand 10 principles that silently keep intelligent people in the state of knowing a lot but having nothing, and stay until the end. Because principle number 10 will not only change how you act, it will change how you see your entire life. Principle 1, intelligence can become a trap. I once met someone, one of the smartest people I know. He reads a lot, understands deeply, can analyze a problem from 5 different angles in just a few minutes. When you talk to him, you feel like you are talking to someone who will do something big. But there was something strange. 5 years passed, his life barely changed. No real projects were built, no products were completed, no clear progress. Only one thing increased, knowledge. At first, I thought he just needed more time, that someone like him would eventually break through. But then I started to realize something you might also be experiencing. Intelligent people do not lack opportunities. They do not lack ideas. They do not lack ability. But they have something others don't, a very dangerous ability. They can see too many things that could go wrong. Before starting anything, they already see 10 ways it could fail. They see risks. They see flaws. They see things others don't. And that sounds like an advantage, but if you're not careful, it becomes a trap. Because instead of acting, you start analyzing. Instead of trying, you start preparing. Instead of moving, you start thinking a little more, then a little more, and a little more. And you call it being careful. You call it being smart. But the truth is, it is just a sophisticated version of procrastination. Look at someone who knows less than you. They don't have all the information. They don't have a perfect plan. They are not sure how everything will unfold. But they start. They make mistakes. They stumble. They learn by doing. And while they are moving forward, you are still standing there, wondering if you are ready. This is what most people don't realize. Intelligence does not make you move faster. It just gives you more reasons to stay still. You can build a perfect argument to not start anything. You can convince yourself that it's not the right time yet. I need more time. I need to understand more. And all of that sounds very reasonable, very logical, very smart. But life is not built on logic. It is built on action. The market does not care how much you understand. It only responds to what you create. And while you are analyzing, others are experimenting. While you are preparing, others are learning from reality. While you are waiting for the perfect moment, others are creating imperfect but real results. There is something you need to understand clearly. There is no moment where you feel completely ready. That feeling rarely comes. And if you keep waiting for it, you will wait a very long time. Maybe forever. I have seen too many people with real potential, but trapped in their own thinking. They don't fail because they are not good enough. They fail because they never start early enough. And the most painful part is, they know it. They know they could do more. They know they are procrastinating. They know they are standing still. But they keep thinking instead of acting. That is the trap. Not loud, not obvious, but extremely dangerous. And if you don't break it, it will silently take away the best years of your life. So stop for a second and ask yourself a simple but uncomfortable question. Are you thinking to move forward? Or are you thinking to avoid starting? Pause. Because the answer to that question might be the line between staying stuck or finally starting to move. And once you see this trap, you will begin to understand something even more important. Not everything that feels smart actually helps you move forward. And in the next part, we will talk about something even more dangerous. Why learning every day can make you feel like you are progressing while in reality you are going nowhere. Principle 2. Overthinking feels like progress. There is a very familiar feeling that, if you don't recognize it, can deceive you for years. It is the feeling after you learn something new, you finish watching a video, you finish reading a book, you just understood a concept you had never thought about before. And in that moment, you feel like you are moving forward. You feel like you are becoming better, smarter, closer to your goal. But this is where many people get stuck, because that feeling is not real progress. It is just the feeling of progress. I remember someone once told me, "I've spent the past year learning about business." He could talk about marketing, understand branding, analyze strategies of big companies in great detail. But when I asked, "Have you sold anything yet?" he went silent. Not because he didn't know the answer, but because he knew it too well. Nothing. No product. No customers. No revenue. Only knowledge. And what makes this dangerous is that during that entire year, he truly believed he was progressing. Every day he learned a little more, understood a little more, felt like he was on the right track. But in reality, he was not moving at all. This is a very subtle trap of the brain. Every time you learn something new, your brain releases dopamine. You feel satisfied. You feel like you did something valuable. And your brain cannot distinguish one crucial thing. Learning and doing are completely different. It only knows that you made progress. So you get rewarded. You feel good. You feel productive. You feel like you're not wasting time. But look closely at your results. Has anything in the real world changed? Has anything new been created? Has anyone besides you received value from what you learned? If the answer is no, then you are not moving forward. You are just becoming more aware of the fact that you haven't done anything. This is why many people can spend 3-5 years on self-improvement, yet their lives barely change. They read, they learn, they watch, they take notes, but they don't build, don't create, don't put anything into the real world. And the scariest part is, they don't feel like they are wasting time, because every day they feel like they are doing the right thing. This is the trap. Unlike laziness, which you can easily recognize, this trap makes you feel disciplined, focused, serious about your life. But in reality, you are just replacing action with thinking. Instead of doing, you learn more. Instead of trying, you research more. Instead of failing, you prepare more. And each time, you get rewarded by your own brain. A false sense of progress. Imagine this. You are standing on a treadmill. You run very hard. You sweat. You feel like you are making an effort. But after 1 hour, you are still in the same place. That is exactly what is happening. You are running, but going nowhere. You are trying, but producing no results. And if you don't realize this early, you can spend years of your life getting better at preparing, not at building. There is a truth you must accept. The world does not reward understanding. It rewards creation. No one pays you because you know how to do something. They pay you when you actually do something. And there is a huge gap between those two things. That gap cannot be filled by learning more. It can only be filled by action, by doing imperfect things, by putting something out even when you are unsure, by accepting that you will be wrong and correcting along the way. That is the only way. So stop for a second and ask yourself a very direct question. Are you learning to move forward, or are you learning to avoid starting? Are you accumulating knowledge, or are you subtly procrastinating action? Because if you are honest with yourself, you will know the answer. And once you realize that, you will begin to understand why so many intelligent people never produce results that match their potential. Not because they don't know enough, but because they have spent too much time feeling like they are progressing instead of actually moving forward. And this leads us to an even deeper truth. In the next part, we will talk about something most people believe is true, but is actually a very comfortable lie. I just need a little more preparation before I start. Principle 3. Preparation is a comfortable lie. There is a sentence you have said to yourself many times. I just need a little more preparation. Pause. Sound familiar? You say it when you haven't started. You say it when you hesitate. And you say it with complete belief because it sounds very reasonable. No one can argue with you when you say, I want to do it right. I want to be sure. I want to be ready. It sounds like responsibility. It sounds like discipline. It sounds like intelligence. But look deeper. What is really happening? I once knew someone who planned to start a business project. He was not rushing. He researched the market, analyzed competitors, built strategies, designed branding, created a detailed timeline. Everything looked impressive. If you saw his plan, you would think, this person will definitely succeed. But there was one problem. 6 months passed, the project still hadn't started. 12 months passed, still preparing. 18 months passed, everything was still on paper. Not because he was lazy, not because he lacked ability, but because he was doing something very subtle. He was using preparation to delay action. And the scariest part is, he didn't realize it. Because every day, he was busy. He worked, he thought. He improved the plan. He felt like he was getting closer to the goal. But in reality, he was standing still. This is what you need to understand. Preparation can become the perfect excuse. An excuse you don't have to explain to anyone. An excuse you might even feel proud of. I haven't started because I'm making it better. But there is a truth you must face. You cannot prepare for everything. You cannot predict all risks. You cannot foresee all problems. You cannot be ready for every situation. And if you try to do that, you will never start. Because there is always one more thing to learn. Something to improve. Something to adjust. Always. Preparation has no natural end point. It only stops when you decide to stop. And if you don't set limits, it will last forever. Look at it another way. Preparation is a comfort zone. There, you control everything. No one judges you. No real risk. No real failure. You can edit. You can redo. You can keep everything perfect in your head. But action is different. When you start, everything becomes real. You can be rejected. You can be judged. You can fail. And that is what you are avoiding. It's not that you are afraid of doing. You are afraid of how it feels to not do well. You are afraid of facing reality. You are afraid of realizing you are not as good as you think. And instead of facing that, you choose to prepare more. This is why preparation feels comfortable. It gives you a sense of control, a sense of safety, a sense of progress, without having to pay the price of discomfort. But there is a cost you don't see. Every day you delay action, your motivation decreases a little. Your initial excitement starts to fade. The idea that once excited you becomes familiar, and what once felt important starts to feel can wait. This is the slow death of an idea, not because it wasn't good, but because it was never brought to light. There is a sentence you need to remember. Plans do not create results. Only action does. You can have a perfect plan, but if it stays on paper, it has no value in the real world. Reality does not care how long you prepared. It only responds to what you do. And interestingly, people who actually build something rarely have perfect plans. Their plans are often simple, even rough, but they start. They let reality teach them what plans cannot. They adjust as they move. They learn while doing, and that is why they move forward. And you might have a better plan than them, understand more than them, prepare more carefully than them. But if you don't start, you will always be behind. So stop and ask yourself a very direct question. Are you preparing, or are you subtly procrastinating? Do you really need more information, or are you just looking for reasons not to start yet? Because if you are honest with yourself, you will know the answer. And once you see that, you will begin to understand an even more important truth. The problem is not that you don't know what to do. The problem is you haven't done what you already know. And in the next part, we will touch on an even more painful gap, the gap between clearly knowing what to do but still not doing it. Principle 4, the gap between knowing and doing. There is a kind of feeling, not loud, not dramatic, but it slowly erodes you over time. It is not the feeling of failure, not confusion, and not that you don't know what to do. On the contrary, you know very clearly. You know you need to wake up earlier. You know you need to focus more. You know you need more discipline. You know you need to start. You know you need to stop procrastinating. You know you need to do the important things. You know everything. And precisely because you know, this feeling becomes even more uncomfortable. Because every day that passes pause, you cannot say that you don't know. You cannot blame a lack of information. You cannot say, I haven't learned enough, but you don't do it. This is the most dangerous gap in a person's life. The gap between understanding what is right and actually doing it. I once talked to someone who could explain discipline better than most people. He talked about delayed gratification, about habits, about how success is built day by day. Everything he said was correct, but his life did not reflect it. He still procrastinated, still quit halfway, still did not complete important tasks. And the most painful part is, he knew it, He was fully aware of this gap, not vaguely, but with sharp clarity, like standing in front of a mirror and seeing exactly where you are. No illusion, no excuses, just the truth. This is a very specific kind of pain. Not the pain of not knowing the way, but the pain of knowing the way and not walking it. You understand exactly what needs to be done, but you still don't do it. And every time you repeat that, something inside you begins to change. You start to lose trust in yourself. You make promises, then break them. You set goals, then ignore them. You say tomorrow, and tomorrow looks the same as today. And over time, you no longer believe in what you say. This is a consequence that very few people talk about. It's not that you don't succeed. It's that you no longer believe you can succeed because you have proven the opposite to yourself too many times. Think about this. If someone else keeps promising you but never follows through, you wouldn't trust them anymore, right? So why do you think you can keep breaking promises to yourself and still keep your confidence? You can't. Every time you know but don't act, you weaken a part of yourself. And gradually, you begin to feel stuck, not because you lack ability, but because you no longer trust your own actions. This is why the gap between knowing and doing is far more dangerous than not knowing at all. Someone who doesn't know still has hope. They can learn, they can explore, they can start. But someone who knows and doesn't act gets trapped in a loop. They can't go back to not knowing, but they also don't move forward. They stand in between, knowing a lot but not changing. This is where many intelligent people live. They read the right books, they understand the right principles, they say the right things, but their lives do not reflect it. And this creates a huge internal conflict. You become two people, the person you know you should be and the person you actually are. The gap between those two is where dissatisfaction lives. You feel like you could be more, you should do better, but every day you keep living the same way. And over time, that feeling doesn't disappear. It accumulates. It gets heavier. It becomes clearer until one day you can no longer ignore it. So what is really happening? Why do you know but not act? The answer is not lack of discipline, not lack of motivation. It's because doing is different from knowing. Knowing does not require change. Knowing is not uncomfortable. Knowing does not put you at risk. But doing does. Doing forces you to face failure. Doing exposes you to judgment. Doing shows you the gap between where you are and your goal. And that is what you are avoiding. It's not that you don't want success. You just don't want the feeling that comes with becoming better. But this is what you must accept. You cannot close the gap between knowing and doing by thinking more. You cannot solve it by learning more. You cannot overcome it by understanding deeper. There is only one way. Do, not perfectly, not confidently, not when ready. Just do. Because every time you act, even in a small way, you send a new signal to yourself. I am someone who does what I say, and gradually trust returns, not from thinking, but from action. So stop for a second and ask yourself a very real question. Is there something you know you need to do, but have been delaying for too long? And more importantly, will you keep knowing, or will you start doing? Because your life does not change when you understand more. It changes when you start living what you already understand. And in the next part, we will go deeper into a very real truth, a rule that no one can avoid. The world does not pay for what you know. It only pays for what you produce. Principle 5, the marketplace pays for output. There is a very cold truth, and it does not care how you feel. The market does not care how much you know. It does not care what you have learned. It does not care how long you have prepared. It asks only one question. What have you created? Not what you can do, not what you understand, not what you plan to do, but what have you done? I once met two people. The first, very intelligent, good degrees, pause, logical speaker, deep understanding of his field. He could explain everything clearly, analyze markets, strategies, trends. If you listened to him, you would think this person must make a lot of money, but he didn't. The second, not outstanding, not a great speaker, not deeply analytical, no perfect plan, but he did one simple thing. He started. He created a small product, then another one, then improved little by little. Not perfect, not polished, not textbook correct, but it existed. It was put into the world. It was tested. It was improved. And over time, it made money. That is the difference. One lives in the world of understanding. One lives in the world of action. And the market only recognizes one of them? You need to understand this clearly. The market does not reward potential. It does not pay for ideas. It does not pay for preparation. It only responds to real value. Something must exist. Something must be created. Something must help someone. Otherwise, you get nothing in return. You can spend 5 years learning about business, but if you have never sold anything, the market considers you as not having started. You can deeply understand content, but if you have never posted a video, the market does not know who you are. You can study investing carefully, but if you have never put in a single dollar, you are still just an observer. This is where many intelligent people get stuck. They accumulate knowledge, they build a foundation, but they don't turn it into output, and so their lives don't change. Remember this, you are not paid for knowing how. You are paid when you produce. No one pays you because you understand writing. They pay when you write something valuable. No one pays you because you understand business. They pay when you create something others are willing to buy. No one pays you for potential. They pay for results. And this might feel uncomfortable, but it is the truth. Someone with 50% of your knowledge but twice your action will always outperform you. Not because they are better, but because they move. While you are preparing, they are trying. While you are analyzing, they are learning from reality. While you are waiting for the right moment, they are producing imperfect but real results. And over time, that gap becomes massive. There is a mistake many people make. They think that if they prepare long enough, results will come naturally. But no, there is no automatic conversion from knowledge to money. There is no system that turns understanding into results if you do not act. You have to do it. You have to put something out. You have to take risks. You have to face real feedback. That is the only way. And there is one more important thing. Output does not have to be perfect. It just has to exist. A bad video is still better than an unpublished one. A simple product is still better than an idea on paper. A small step is still better than a perfect plan that never started. Because only when you produce output, you get feedback. Only when you get feedback, you improve. Only when you improve, you move forward. That is the real loop. Not learn, prepare, perfect, start, but do, fail, fix, continue. And if you look at people who actually succeed, you will see they are not the ones who know the most. They are the ones who produce the most. They show up every day. They build every day. They create value every day. Not perfectly, but consistently. So stop and ask yourself a very practical question. If today ended, what have you created? Not what you learned, not what you thought, but what real thing have you produced? Because that is the only thing the world responds to. And when you start seeing life that way, everything changes. You care less about understanding more and focus more on producing. And that is the critical shift. But even when you start taking action, there is still another trap waiting, a more subtle one, something many people hold on to because they believe it gives them control. Plans. And in the next part, we will talk about a truth few accept. Plans are just guesses. Principle 6. Plans are just guesses. I want you to look back at every plan you have ever written. Detailed plans, clear timelines, logical steps that look perfect. You believed in them, right? So did I. I used to think that if I thought carefully enough, if I prepared well enough, if I calculated accurately enough, everything would go exactly as planned. But life does not work that way. Reality does not read your plans. The market does not care about your frameworks. People do not behave the way you predict. And that is where everything starts to break. I remember once. I spent a lot of time building a plan. I wrote down every step. I predicted every phase. I even anticipated potential problems. On paper, everything was perfect. But the moment I started executing pause, the plan began to collapse. Not because it was bad, but because reality was different. Things I did not anticipate started to appear. Things that seemed simple became complicated. My logical assumptions did not hold in real life. And that is when I realized something important. A plan is not an accurate map. It is just the best guess at that moment. But what is the problem with intelligent people? They create very convincing plans. Everything seems logical. Steps are clear. Numbers make sense. And so they start believing in the plan. Not as a tool, but as a truth. They become attached to it. They take pride in it. They don't want it to be wrong. And that is when the plan becomes a trap. Because when reality does not match the plan, they don't see it as feedback. They see it as failure. And instead of continuing, they go back to the desk and redo the plan. Adjust a little, refine a little, perfect a little more. And they think, this time it will be more accurate. but they are missing the most important thing. You cannot learn about reality from outside of it. No plan can predict everything. No analysis can replace real experience. You can only understand things when you are inside them. When you are facing real problems, when you are colliding with the real world, that is where real knowledge is formed. Think about this. You can read 10 books about swimming. You can understand all the theory. You can analyze every movement. But if you have never been in the water, you cannot swim. Plans are the same. You can build a perfect plan. But if you have never executed, you don't know what actually happens. This is what real builders understand. They don't try to make the plan perfect. They just need it good enough to start. Then they let reality teach them. They adjust as they move. They fix mistakes while doing. They learn from their own actions. For them, a plan is not something to cling to. It is just a starting point. And you might be doing the opposite. You are trying to perfect the plan before allowing yourself to start. You want everything clear. You want every step guaranteed. You want to minimize risk. But here is the truth. You cannot eliminate risk. You can only learn how to handle it, and you cannot learn that while you are still planning. There is an image I want you to remember. A plan is like a map, but the map is not the territory. You can study the map all day, but it does not give you real experience. You have to go outside. You have to move. You have to get a little lost. That is how you truly understand where you are going. And there is one more thing you need to face. A beautiful plan can make you feel like you have achieved something. You look at it, and you feel proud. But that feeling is very dangerous, because it resembles the feeling of success without real results. It makes you feel satisfied when you haven't even started. So stop for a second and ask yourself a very direct question. Are you using plans as a tool to start or as a place to hide? Is your plan ready enough for you to act, or will it be improved one more time? Because if you are honest, you will know your plan has been enough for a long time. Only you are not ready for it to become imperfect. And when you accept that, when you are willing to let reality break your plan, that is when you truly start. And once you begin to see the difference between plans and reality, you will realize something even deeper. Maybe you are measuring the wrong thing. You think you are doing well, but by a standard that does not produce results. And in the next part, we will talk about a mistake many intelligent people make. They are playing correctly, but in the wrong game. Principle 7, you're playing the wrong scoreboard. I want you to imagine something very simple. You walk onto a field and you play your heart out. You run, you try, you score points. But then you realize something. You are playing by the rules of a different game. You are trying to score in a game where the scoring system is completely different. Sounds absurd, right? But that is exactly what many people are doing in their lives. They work hard. They put in effort. They develop themselves. But they are measuring themselves with the wrong scoreboard. I have met many people like this. They are proud of their degrees, of the number of books they have read, of the knowledge they have accumulated. And all of that is not wrong. But there is one problem. That is not the scoreboard life uses to reward you. You can have an impressive CV. You can deeply understand a field. You can be respected by people around you. But if you do not produce results, the market does not respond. This is the difference you must see. There are two scoreboards, a comfortable scoreboard and a real scoreboard. Pause. What is the comfortable scoreboard? It is where you get points when you learn more, when you read more, when you gain more degrees, when you are recognized within a group. You can accumulate points and feel like you are moving forward. And the great thing is, those points never disappear. You read a book, you keep that knowledge. You earn a degree, it stays with you. You build a reputation, it accumulates over time. It is a very comfortable game. But there is another scoreboard, the real scoreboard. There is only one question. What have you created? Not what you have learned, not what you know, but what you have produced that has value for others. And this scoreboard is not comfortable because it resets every day. You did well yesterday does not mean you are doing well today. You had results last week does not mean you still have them this week. You must create value continuously. And this is where many intelligent people struggle. They are good at the first scoreboard. They know how to learn. They know how to accumulate knowledge. They know how to build an image. And they are rewarded for that for many years. School rewards them. People around them praise them. They become the smart one. But then they enter the real world, and they carry the old scoreboard with them. They keep playing the game they are used to. They keep accumulating knowledge, keep improving themselves, but results do not come, and they start asking, why am I doing everything right but not moving forward? The answer is very simple. You are playing correctly but in the wrong game. You are optimizing for knowledge while life rewards results. You are building an image while the market cares about real value. You are trying to be better when you need to produce more. And the hardest part is, the old scoreboard makes you feel like you are winning. You look at what you have learned and you feel confident. You look at what you know and you think you are on the right path. And so you do not want to change, because changing the scoreboard means starting over. You are no longer the smartest in the room. You are no longer recognized the same way. You lose that sense of control, and that is uncomfortable. But this is the truth you must accept. You cannot win one game by playing by the rules of another. You cannot build results just by accumulating knowledge. You have to switch to the real scoreboard. You have to start measuring yourself by what you produce, not how long you study, but what you do. Not how deeply you understand, but what you apply. Not what others think of you, but what your work creates. And this will not be easy. At first, you will feel like you are losing because you are looking at a new scoreboard and the numbers might be small, but that is reality. And reality is always the best place to start, because you cannot improve what you do not see. You cannot move forward in a game where you do not understand the scoring system. So stop and ask yourself a very direct question. What are you measuring your life by? Are you proud because you know more, or because you have created something real? Are you playing the knowledge game or the results game? Because that answer will determine your direction. And when you start switching to the real scoreboard, you will face something unavoidable. Discomfort, uncertainty, friction with reality. And that is exactly where many people stop. But it is also where those who truly move forward continue. And in the next part, we will talk about something most people misunderstand. Discomfort is not a sign you are on the wrong path. It may be the only sign that you are on the right one. Principle 8. Discomfort is the real signal. There is something I wish I had understood earlier. Many things in life are not wrong because they are hard. They are hard because they are right. But most people interpret that the opposite way. They feel discomfort and they think, something is wrong. Maybe I am not ready. Maybe this is not the path for me. And so they stop. Not because they lack ability, but because they misread the signal. I used to be like that. There were times I started something new, and the first feeling was always the same. Uncomfortable. Everything felt unfamiliar, not smooth, uncertain. I felt not good, not confident, not in control. And the natural reaction? To go back to what is familiar, back to what I am good at, what I can control, what feels safe. But over time, I realized something important. Every skill you have today once made you uncomfortable. Think back to the first time you did anything, the first time you spoke in public, the first time you tried a new job, the first time you started a project. It was not smooth. It was not natural. It was not comfortable. But if you had stopped there, you would never have grown. Pause. This applies at every level. Not just when you start. Even when you move to a higher level, that feeling returns. Bigger project, more pressure. Higher goal, more risk. Bigger opportunity, more responsibility. And with all of that comes discomfort. This is what you need to understand. Discomfort is not the enemy of progress. In most cases, it is progress. But the problem is, you have been taught to avoid it. Since you were young, you were taught, if something is hard, maybe it is not for you. If you feel uncomfortable, maybe you should stop. If you are not good right away, maybe it is not your strength. It sounds reasonable, but in reality, it keeps you where you are, because everything valuable comes with discomfort. Discipline is uncomfortable. Building is uncomfortable. Learning new skills is uncomfortable. Facing failure even more so. And if you treat discomfort as a stop signal, you will never go far. People who truly move forward are not those who do not feel discomfort. They just interpret it differently. They do not see it as a wrong signal. They see it as the right one. When they feel uncomfortable, they know they are stepping out of their comfort zone. When they feel uncertain, they know they are learning something new. When they feel pressure, they know they are doing something meaningful. They do not avoid discomfort. They accept it, not once, but every day. They understand it is the price to pay. And here's a crucial shift. You do not try to endure discomfort. You learn to interpret it. Instead of thinking, this is too hard, I should stop, you start thinking, this is hard, it means I am moving forward. Instead of avoiding, you move into it. Instead of waiting for it to get easier, you act even when it is hard. And over time, what happens? Discomfort does not disappear, but you become stronger. You get used to it. You are no longer controlled by it. You no longer need to feel ready to start. You just act. This is where most people get stuck. They wait for the right feeling. They wait for confidence. They wait for clarity. They wait for the perfect moment. But those things usually come after action, not before. You do not become confident, then act. You act, then become confident. You do not get clarity, then start. You start, then gain clarity. You do not feel comfortable, then move forward. You move forward, then get used to discomfort. That is the real order. And if you reverse it, you will wait forever. So stop for a second and ask yourself a very real question. Is there something you are avoiding just because it makes you uncomfortable? Is there a step you know you need to take, but you are delaying because it is hard? Because very likely that is exactly the next step you need. Not a stop signal, but a forward signal. And when you start seeing discomfort that way, you will realize something even more important. Your problem is not lack of knowledge. You already know enough. But you have not changed. And in the next part, we will go straight into a very clear truth. You do not have a knowledge problem. You have a different problem, one that most people do not want to face. Principle 9. You don't have a knowledge problem. I want to tell you something that you may have suspected for a long time. Your problem is not a lack of knowledge. You do not need another book, another course, another video, not because those things are not valuable, but because you already have enough. You know what you need to do. You know you should wake up earlier. You know you should focus more. You know you should be more disciplined. You know you need to start. You know you need to stop procrastinating. You know you need to do the important things. And if you are honest with yourself, you have known this for a long time. So why? Has your life not changed yet? This is the question many people avoid. They keep learning, keep searching for more information, keep believing, I just need to understand a little more. But in reality, they are using knowledge as an excuse, a very smart excuse. Because when you say, I need to learn more, no one argues with you. In fact, they encourage you. That's right, keep learning. Self-development is good, and you feel like you are on the right path. But deep down, you know the truth. You are not learning to move forward. You are learning to delay. You are learning to avoid starting. I have been in that state. I thought if I understood enough, things would become easier. That if I had more knowledge, I would be more confident. That if I prepared enough, I would be ready. But that never happened, because knowledge does not solve the real problem. The real problem is decision. It is not that you do not know what to do. It is that you have not decided to do it. Not in a I hope I will way, not in a maybe I should way, pause, but a real decision. A decision with weight. A decision that changes how you live, starting tomorrow. This is the difference you must see. You can care without acting. You can understand without changing. You can want without committing. And that is where many people stop. They stay in the almost state, almost starting, almost disciplined, almost changing. But almost does not create results. Only real action does. Think about this. You can stand in front of a store, look at an item, read its price clearly. You know exactly what it is worth. You understand its benefits. But if you do not pay, you do not have it. Understanding the price is not paying the price. And life is the same. You know the cost of success. You know it requires discipline, effort, persistence. You see the early mornings, the long work days, the failures. You understand all of it. But understanding does not mean you have paid the price. And this is where everything becomes clear. You do not lack knowledge. You are avoiding the cost. You know what needs to be done, but you are not ready to pay that price. Not ready to work hard. Not ready to face failure. Not ready to step out of your comfort zone. And instead of facing that, you go back to knowledge. Because knowledge is more comfortable. It does not require change. It does not make you fail. It does not put you at risk. But it also does not take you anywhere. There is a truth you must accept. You can spend your entire life understanding how success works. But if you do not act, you will still stand still. And this leads to a very important question. Do you really want it, or do you just like the idea of it? Do you want success, or do you just like talking about success? Do you want change, or do you just like thinking that one day you will change? Because there is a huge gap. between desire and decision. Desire does not change your life. Decision does. A real decision is not in words. It is in action. It shows in how you use your time, in what you do in the morning, in what you do when no one is watching. That is where decisions become real. So stop for a second and ask yourself a very direct question. If you did not learn anything else, do you already know enough to start? And if the answer is yes, why have you not started? Because that answer is what you need to face. Not more knowledge, but a decision, a clear decision, a firm decision, a decision that I will act even if I am not ready. And when you truly make that decision, everything will start to change. Not immediately, not easily, but definitely. And in the final part, we will reach the most important point. The moment everything truly shifts. Not when you understand, not when you prepare, but when you decide and start taking action. Principle 10, decision changes everything. There is a moment when you can no longer pretend, not when you understand something new, not when you have another plan, and not when you feel ready, but when you have to face a very simple question. Will you do it or not? Not tomorrow. Not when things are more convenient, not when you feel more confident, but now. This is where everything splits. On one side are those who keep thinking, on the other are those who start acting, and the difference between them is not knowledge, not talent, not circumstances. It is decision. I used to think change came from motivation, that one day I would feel inspired enough to start, that I would feel right and everything would naturally follow. But that never happened, because motivation is unstable. Some days you have it, some days you don't. If you wait for motivation, you will live by your emotions, and emotions constantly change. But decision is different. A real decision does not depend on emotion. It does not ask if you like it or not. It does not care if you feel confident or not. It answers only one thing. I will do this no matter how I feel. That is the difference. You do not need to feel ready to start. You just need to decide. And when that decision is real, it changes everything. Not instantly, but gradually. You begin to act differently. You begin to use your time differently. You begin to prioritize what matters. Not because you are motivated, but because you have decided. I want you to see this clearly. Many people think they have decided, but in reality, they are just hoping. I'll start soon. I'll change. I'll do better. That is not a decision. That is a wish. A real decision does not sound like that. It is not soft. It is not vague. It is very clear. I will do this every day. I will start today. I will stop procrastinating now. And more importantly, it is proven by action, not words, not intention, but action. You can say you have decided, but if tomorrow you still live the same way, then you have not truly decided. Pause. Because a real decision always changes behavior. It changes your morning. It changes how you work. It changes what you do when no one is watching. That is where you know if it is real. And here's the most important thing. You do not need a perfect decision. You just need a real one. Not 100% certainty. Not complete information. Not perfect clarity. Just tell yourself, no matter what, I will do it, and then you do it. Not once, but repeatedly. Not only when you feel like it, but even when you don't. That is how a decision becomes reality. That is how life starts to change. There is something you must accept. No one is coming to activate you. There is no magical moment when everything becomes easy. There's no clear signal that says now is the time. You have to create that moment with a decision not dependent on circumstances, not dependent on emotions, not dependent on perfection, just dependent on you. And when you do that, you will realize something. It is not that you need more. You just need to start. It is not that you lack knowledge. You just lack action. It is not that your life is complicated. You are just delaying the simplest thing, starting. So right now, stop for a second and ask yourself one final question. If you truly decided, how would your life change starting tomorrow? What would you do differently? Where would you start? What would you stop? Because that is where everything begins. Not in thinking, not in planning, but in action. And now that you have come this far, you have seen everything clearly. You have seen the trap. You have seen the cause. You have seen the solution. Now there is only one thing left. Will you keep thinking, or will you start? Do you see? The problem was never that you were not smart enough. It was not that you lacked opportunities. It was not that you had not learned enough. The problem is, you used your own intelligence, to delay the things you know you need to do. You think, you prepare, you analyze, but your life does not change when you understand more. It only changes when you start acting. You have seen the trap of overthinking, the trap of learning without doing, the trap of preparing but never starting. And you have also seen the solution, not more knowledge, not more planning, but a decision, a real decision, that you will start even when you are not ready, that you will act even when you are uncertain, that you will accept discomfort as part of the process, because that is how things are built, not perfectly, not easily, but real. So the final question for you is, will you continue to be someone who understands a lot, or will you become someone who actually does something? If this video made you reflect on yourself, press like. If you want to keep learning how to build a disciplined, purposeful life, subscribe so you don't miss the next lessons. And I truly want to hear from you. What is the first thing you will start right after this video? Write it down in the comments. Not for others to see, but to commit to yourself. Because sometimes, one small decision today can change your entire life. You and I both have a gift. Today, use it wisely. I will see you in the next video. Pause.